Hi, everybody. Welcome back to True Crime Knit Night with Aro Knits and Pearls. I am obviously Aro of Aro Knits and Pearls. I'm really excited to welcome you guys back to episode 3. For those of you who are curious, I am wearing my Brightfeather sweater by Jenn Steinglass or Knit Love Wool. I'm going to be working on my Bits and Bobble sweater by Rachel Knits Things. Not yet released, it's in testing, and I have reached the point of a very nice relaxing stockinette portion, so that's what I'll be working on. So please pull up your knitting and let me tell you a story about the so-called Bestie killer. Now, this case happened in Austin, and I was still there at the time, living there, which is why I want to talk about it. Warning, there's obviously murder in this case, as all my other cases. This case does involve an infant, but spoiler alert, nobody hurts the baby. The baby's okay. I just want to let you guys know because I would also be on edge if I heard that. But I know certain people may have extreme sensitivities to certain things. So because I don't know about that, I just want to be as respectful as I can be. So heads up, there's a baby involved, but the baby's okay at the end. So if that affects your ability to watch this episode, that's okay. Feel free to come back when I have another episode next week. Not true crime, though. Anyway, so if you are staying, welcome. I'm glad to have you here, and let me tell you about this so-called Bestie killer. So this is a recent case, like 2019 recent. There's no trial, no verdict, so because I'm an attorney and extremely risk-adverse, I'm going to say allegedly a lot, and that's just to protect my ass from getting sued. I'll inject my opinions whenever and wherever I can, but because the facts haven't been established by a court of law to be facts yet, I'm just going to do my best to protect myself. So today's case is about Heidi Broussard. She was 33 years old, living in South Austin with her fiance and their 6-year-old son. Heidi was extremely close with her family, even though they lived in Louisiana, but she had lots of really close friends in Austin. So she had a really great support network. In early 2019, she got some exciting news. She was pregnant again, and this time it was with a baby girl. So Heidi was a total girly girl from what I can tell. Like, she loved going out to brunch and getting dressed up, doing her makeup. So she was really excited to know that she was having a daughter. Even more exciting was that shortly after Heidi announced her pregnancy, one of her best friends from childhood, Megan Fieramusca, she also became pregnant with a baby girl, and the two even had similar due dates. Megan and Heidi met at church camp when they were young, and they'd been friends ever since for more than a decade. Megan lived in Houston, and for those of you who aren't familiar with Texas geography, Houston is about 2 to 3 hours away from Austin if you're driving. But the two, even though there was a distance, they would call and talk about their pregnancies all the time together, like absolute sisterhood shit. Like, I imagine that this is like a super big bonding experience. Otherwise, pregnancy packs wouldn't exist, right? Those are real, right? Like, it's not just something you hear about on like TV shows. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting off subject. So, like, they were so close and really involved in each other's pregnancies. So when Heidi went into labor in November of 2019, Megan, who, mind you, was also ready to pop by that point, like, she drove the 2 to 3 hours from Houston to get to the Austin hospital to support her friend. That is some real ride or die shit. Like, I don't even know. Well, now I have friends, but before, when I lived in Austin, I don't even know if somebody would like come get me soup when I was sick. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off subject again today. Baby Margot was born. She was born healthy to a very happy family. Megan was so excited to be there, and Heidi's family noticed that oddly, like, Megan was so determined to be the first one to hold baby Margot that she actually tried to like physically take the baby from Heidi's grandfather, like, which is a major faux pas. Like, you don't do that. But because she was also like so pregnant as hell, and the family just thought like, oh, maybe it's just the maternal instinct and really weird pregnancy hormones, like whatever. They just kind of brushed it off. December 12th, 2019, this is about 3 weeks after Margot was born, Heidi dropped her son off at elementary school at 7:30 a.m. That was the last time Heidi was seen. Heidi's fiance came home after work and saw that her car was there, her purse and Margot's diaper bag were inside of the apartment, but there was no sign of Heidi, like no sign of baby Margot. And he reports her missing. Of course, like with a young mom and a newborn missing, like this was super hot news. And the media flipped out. The police mobilized like crazy. The FBI was called in. And like the whole dang bucket of crime chicken was on the table. I'm just going to say that, yeah. At the same time, Heidi's family and friends were like organizing search parties, posting flyers, holding vigils, and they would call each other like every day and just cry on the phone together and talk about how distraught they were about Heidi's disappearance. And of course, Megan was part of these daily calls because she was one of Heidi's best friends. Now, the friends and family of a victim may not hear from police about everything they're doing, and some victims advocacy groups think it's because police just can't be bothered and don't place enough emphasis on victims' rights, but it can also serve as an investigative tool, and this case most certainly falls into the latter category. Like, most victims of foul play know their attacker, and because families of victims and their friends tend to commiserate and share information about what they've heard, police often do their best to try and keep everything under wraps. Unless you're one of those dirtbags who like came to the Kobe Bryant helicopter crash and took pictures, but like that's a whole other thing, sorry. I am really in a mood today. Anyway, the media and public were just completely on edge and desperate to know what happened to Heidi and baby Margot, because most pregnant women or, you know, recent moms who are disappeared and harmed, they're victims to their current or former romantic partner. So there was a lot of speculation and looking at Heidi's fiance, because the two were together for more than 10 years. So people were like wondering, like, why hadn't they gotten married yet? Like, you already were on your second kid now. Was there a reason you were putting it off? Like, was he really unhappy and didn't want another baby to tie him to Heidi? You know, what exactly was going on? And it was all speculation, but that's all the public had. Fortunately, the police had a lot more than speculation. Soon after the disappearance of Heidi and Margot, police learned that one of Heidi's neighbors in the apartment complex had a surveillance camera set up. And the video taken from that day of her disappearance showed Megan's vehicle in the parking lot of Heidi's apartment complex. Now, keep in mind, Megan lives in Houston, so it's not like she was just returning a Tupperware container that she borrowed because she was in the neighborhood and just forgot to mention it to the police. It would take her hours to get from her home to Heidi's. So she would remember it, and she would definitely have told somebody if she wanted to, right? Another resident of the apartment complex told investigators that she saw a woman matching Heidi's appearance holding a small infant get into the back of a car, and it was the same car from the video before it sped away. And when police presented her with a picture of Megan, the witness said she was 60 to 70% sure it was the same driver she saw. So that's not a definitive ID, but it's still weird. So police definitely wanted to find out more about Megan. And there's obviously some jurisdictional issues for Austin PD to be working stuff down in Houston, so it was just a lot easier to send the feds, and that's what they did. A couple FBI agents working on the case were sent to Megan's home in Houston that she shared with her ex-boyfriend. So when the ex left the house one day, the FBI agents followed him going to Target, and when he emerged, he was holding a bag full of baby clothes and formula. So they decided, why not? Let's just approach him and see what he says. And this was an informal discussion, mind you, but they showed him a flyer of the missing mom and daughter, Heidi and Margot, and he looks at this flyer and he looks at the baby and says, "That's the baby at my house." The ex-boyfriend said Megan told him she was pregnant with his baby shortly after they broke up, and he had no reason to doubt it. Like, her baby bump grew consistently throughout the quote-unquote pregnancy. In fact, Megan was in the process of settling some legal issues, nothing too serious. It was a couple theft charges, but she was getting them settled, and when she went to see her attorney about it a week before Heidi disappeared, he said she looked, and I quote, very pregnant. But when investigators pressed Megan's live-in ex about it, he admitted that he'd never actually seen her bare belly during the pregnancy. There was no stage of undress, no sex, no rubbing oil or lotion on the belly, which I hear is very common. He'd never even gone to a doctor's appointment with her. Megan just kind of handled it all on her own. All he knew was that when he got back from a work trip on December 13th, this was the day after Heidi and Margot went missing, mind you, Megan allegedly told him that she had the baby while he was gone, and there was a baby in the house. So he just kind of was like, okay, that's fine, I guess. So December 19th, December 19th, a week after Heidi and Margot's disappearance, investigators pretty much raided the home in Houston. The media had followed them from Austin, and they were live broadcasting when they ran the check on the home and found it belonged to Megan. There, outside of the home in a car, they found Heidi's decomposing body in the trunk. The cause of death was found to be strangulation. Inside, police found a healthy baby girl. Megan insisted this was her daughter. That was super easily verifiable. The hospital where Margot was born just pulled up the little footprint paperwork that you do when a baby's born, and it just proved that the baby was indeed Margot. So that was a super dumbass lie. Alleged lie. Yeah. So, given the trial hasn't been scheduled yet, all the evidence collected by police at the home, and that's going to be presented by prosecutors, we don't know everything that's there. And we likely won't for a very long time. But the affidavit that was filed with the court earlier this year revealed that Megan's internet search history had some interesting queries. For example, during the time that Heidi was still missing, she was searching for reasons for Amber Alert Austin, and bodies found in Austin, Texas, which isn't definitive to anything, but is also really weird. Megan said in an interview with investigators that she had given birth at a birthing center. That baby was hers. She said that she had it somewhere in the Woodlands, and the Woodlands is a suburby area outside of Houston. She said she had the baby on December 12th and brought the baby home the same day. She couldn't remember the name of it, but she knows it happened there. And look, full disclosure, I'm not a mom yet. I want to be, but I'm not a mom. But I've heard from many first-time moms that you generally tend to remember where your first baby was born, some detail, I can't speak on that with any authority, but in my opinion, I would like to think that if I pushed a living human being, or not living, if I pushed a human being out of, any capacity out of my body, or one was taken out of me, if a cesarean had to happen, I would like to think I knew where that happened. But again, I don't know. I could be wrong. That's fine. Anyway, Megan was charged with capital murder, tampering with a corpse, and 2 counts of kidnapping. Her bond was set at $1 million for the murder charge alone. I think with all the charges, it brought it up to $1.6 million. So yeah, her ass is still in jail, waiting for a trial. Prosecutors haven't announced whether or not they'll seek the death penalty in this case. For those of you who don't know, Austin is kind of a liberal haven within the very conservative state of Texas. So the district attorney there is also known to be fairly progressive. But because of the facts of the case, and depending on whether or not it's an election year when the trial finally starts, there may be enough political pressure for the death penalty to be an option. I think it's much more likely the DA is just keeping it on the table, just as a negotiation tool to kind of pressure Megan to take a plea deal. But I can't be sure of what's going to happen. Now, police and prosecutors allege that Megan was never actually pregnant. They think she desperately wanted a baby, especially to tie her ex-boyfriend to her immediately after the breakup. So when Heidi announced her pregnancy, Megan saw an opportunity to essentially live vicariously through her friend's pregnancy and then eventually take her baby and pass it off as her own. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of really fascinating science and history behind this kind of crime. It's called fetal abduction, by the way, if you want to go down the Wikipedia hole like I did. But it's one of those cases that's really difficult to categorize because the science and the psychology are pretty clear, this is a real mental disturbance. But the legal standard for insanity in the U.S. is so strict. Generally speaking, and there are small points of difference depending on which state you're in, but generally the rule in the United States is whether you had the capacity to know what you were doing was wrong. And this is a super high burden to prove because Megan almost certainly wouldn't fall under that. And that's if her defense team tries to go that route. I wouldn't personally, but what the fuck do I know? I don't practice criminal law. Anyway, there's no word on what they're going to pursue, but the fact that Megan was calling Heidi's other friends and family and acting just as upset, the fact that she tried to pass off baby Margot, this was irrefutably baby Margot. She came up with a story about how she birthed her own daughter that pretty much is untrue and allegedly untrue. And the fact that she allegedly took efforts to hide Heidi's body, that all looks really bad if you're trying to go for insanity. If she is found guilty, then the fact that she took steps to hide the fact, that's really strong evidence that she knew what she was doing was wrong. Allegedly. Anyway, Heidi's friends and family were just completely shocked and betrayed and heartbroken when police recovered Margot and Heidi's remains at Megan's home. They had absolutely no suspicion towards Megan. Heidi's fiance, and again, he'd been with Heidi for more than 10 years and he'd known Megan for that entire time. So he says he just wants to know why, which I can respect because the trial hasn't officially started, and with COVID backlog, it may take years longer before there's a final verdict. So we can only speculate as to Megan's state of mind and what Heidi actually went through before she died. And that's why the case bothers me so much, because we don't actually know what happened. Megan probably came up with a lie to get Heidi in the car, sure, but at what point in the 2 to 3 hour drive from Austin to Houston did Heidi realize something was wrong? Was she killed pretty much right after she got in the car? Or did Megan, keep up her lie for the whole drive? If she was Heidi laughing? Was Heidi talking about the new baby, just, happy? Or did she know what was coming? It's that plays on in my brain, and I really, really want to know, but we might never, and I have to be okay with that. But as for baby Margot, she's one of the most important aspects to this case, and I want you to know that she is okay. She was put with family services immediately after she was recovered, but that was just temporary to make sure that she was, physically okay. And she was medically cleared after a few days, and she was reunited with her dad and her brother on Christmas Eve 2019. Heidi's family, they spend a lot of time with baby Margot and report that she's a very happy child who rarely cries. She learned to walk at 11 months old. I saw the video, it was very cute. And she's currently learning American Sign Language, which is, super freaking cool. I can only wish all the goodness and comfort in the world to Heidi's friends and family, except Megan. You're not a friend, you a bitch. Sorry, just gonna say it. Heidi's son and fiance, like, seriously, mad props and love to them, but especially to baby Margot, who, like, at 1 month old, she was attending her own mom's funeral. Like, I hope that Megan is getting the psychiatric care she clearly and desperately needs. But I also kind of hate her and hope she dies. Anyway, for those of you who want to be mothers but can't due to physical, or in my case, financial reasons, like, mad love to you and us. For all the mothers out there, mad love to you guys too. I hope no one steals your babies and kills you for them. Just, yeah, mad props to you. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to me tell this heartbreaking story. And the moral of the story is don't trust your friends. That seems like a bad moral, but it's not wrong in this case. Anyway, maybe come up with your own moral. Comment your own moral from this story. Thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. And send me cool cases, I guess, and we can talk about them. Okay, I will see you guys next time. Bye.